Hey guys, how's it going? It is 9:11 p.m. on September 27th, 2017. Of course, I probably should have had this snack before I started this, but what else is new? Um, but I'm not going to be too long, and hopefully I'm not going to talk with my mouth full or feed my face too much. Kind of think about what I'm saying. It's just a granola bar. It's not a big deal anyways. But yeah, this isn't an easy video. It's and maybe I get over dramatic at times. Maybe I overthink things too times. I have a tendency of worrying too much. Perhaps, perhaps I have a tendency of overanalyzing things. But I think of anything that I do and the amount of time that I put in it and the amount of effort that I put into something. I always think about what's the payoff. What's the payoff for me? Uh, what's the payoff for others? You know, what I do, what is it worth to others? So I value feedback very much. I value communication very much. And sometimes I'm not going to necessarily agree with the feedback I receive. For example, tonight, um, just because I don't agree, let's just say I valued Ski's email tonight. And this isn't about Ski and I. This has nothing to do with Ski and I. Ski, I consider a very good friend who I met through Run 8. So if anything, if RTS gave me 5 years, at least it found what I consider a good friend. And I mean, I don't know, as far as what that is. I mean, I was out with dinner with a friend. It has nothing to do with trains or anything. Who's the best friend. So I have very few friends. Let's just say. So when I say I consider him a good friend. Um, we've talked whenever we can. He's been very busy with work. But I asked him basically, what's going on? Like, what is happening? Because I don't get it. And he gave me his opinion. And like I said, I don't necessarily agree with what he had to say. That ain't gonna affect our relationship as far as I'm concerned. At least not for me, it isn't. By the sounds of it, at least the last I heard, him and I are gonna eventually run some sessions together. And I've said all along, even if it's just two people, two people running, taking turns. And we talked about this actually. We talked about this over on a we talked about this on a Google Hangout a couple weeks back. And I was saying, I dispatch a little bit, or one night, he dispatches the next. We do different jobs. We're not hunkered down or feeling trapped. The one thing that has happened over the past, I don't know, probably good year, I would say. Now let's go back, and I'll explain. Basically, I feel trapped. I have felt trapped since earlier this year. I felt like this was becoming more like a job than a hobby. And there's a reason for that. It's really simple. And it's actually changed the way I feel about Run 8. Run 8, okay, Run 8 is Run 8. I cannot change what routes are put out. I cannot change what gets expanded. I can't change those things. Those are they're not in my control. I can't change that. I can make suggestions. I can post YouTube videos. I can do all kinds of things. Actually, like I said, feedback's important. I got one message from a YouTube that was so happy I was back into Run 8. And Unfortunately, it looks like I may disappoint him because I don't know how long that's going to be. Because, you know, I got home late tonight anyways. Last night I fell asleep on the damn couch. I didn't want to get into it. Nothing was happening. There was still, you know, I was expecting something. And when I look at the way things were going with Selkirk, but I'm jumping all over the place. Let me take you back to where some of this started happening for me. Sometime after version 2 came out. First of all, it was awesome. We were running on California 24/7, the RTS California server that Mike was running, and it was awesome. It was a 24/7 server. We ran it. In fact, it runs very similar to what it's running like now over on Mike's own server, which is kind of strange. But anyways, there's not too much of a difference. I don't know what the difference is, to be honest. I really don't know what the differences were, because him and I didn't really have many differences. I mean, the only thing that came to my mind was that perhaps 24/7 wasn't necessary, but he really didn't change too much. The only thing that I think Mike was going to change was not running as many trains or something like that. Well, the last few times I dispatched on Mike's server, I was running more trains than I've ever run. And it felt like I was busier than I was ever busier. And he was bringing back the number of trains, but by then I was just like, you know, where's all the other dispatchers? Where's all the other people? Nobody wants to dispatch. It was either going to be Mike on his own. I felt bad. I didn't want to go run trains on his server, especially when nobody else is going to step up and be a dispatcher. We used to have people begging to be dispatchers, begging to be running a hump. Suddenly, it's just like it ain't there anymore. So I felt like I was trapped in Barstow back in the early part of this year, and people were getting busy, and you know, not as admins, we were taking on groups and responsibilities, but it seemed like we were the only ones doing it. So I started seeing that. I started seeing the territories were getting bigger. I knew Needles was going to expand. I knew, you know, when some of these territories started expanding, we started adding more of this and more of that. It just became so much to manage. And when you don't have enough people to keep things going, it just drags on. And that's what I was finding. So that's where I kind of felt trapped. And this is where the first trap feeling started. So I was in Barstow. I was responsible for Barstow, or something like that. And I was like, well, okay, I'm responsible for Barstow, and it seems like that's all I'm doing is Barstow, because that's it. Now maybe my memory is failing to recognize anything, and I got no personal differences between myself, Mike, or Tom. But this was back in the spring. Mike went away on a trip, and he came back and he basically said, you know, that he had a lot of time to think and blah blah blah, and that he felt that he needed to go in his own direction. It was kind of at the time, I believe it was kind of a shock or a surprise to me, but he did it. He did it in a way that was respectful. He did it in a way that, you know, was, I think, appropriate. And there was no hard feelings. There wasn't this split because there was fights between us or differences of opinions, as far as I know. I said the only thing I think that was different was that he, I think, wanted to run less trains or something like that. But I was never stopping him anyways. As far as I know, I wasn't. Or I, you know, just because I had a difference of opinion doesn't mean I was going to interject or say that, you know, things had to be. Now, mind you, I was looking at running different servers. I was looking at Selkirk. I was looking at doing different things. But that's why I gave up California to begin with. I wanted to focus on different things. California to me was becoming this monster. So I didn't want to be in charge of it. I wanted somebody else to take it over. And even after Mike had left, it was open for others to step in. Somebody did step in, and they did it but they suddenly stepped in. They weren't an admin or anything, and they were okay to do it. And I was just like, well, hold on here. You're not even an admin or something like that, I remember saying. Because I wanted, I just didn't want anybody to just step in. I wanted to know the person, to at least understand that they were, because I didn't want this to become a revolving door. And then they were gone. So I was like, okay, at some point I said, I think my role should be not as hands-on as far as the servers go. I should be more focused on providing content, YouTube content, trying to promote, albeit that I wasn't on Florida that much, if at all, unfortunately. And that I would try at some point, and Mike or I should say, Mike Ski, Mike. I call him Ski just to not confuse with Mike and Mikey. They're all Mike, but anyways, Ski had started to look into RTS 2, and this was just before I think he got called away for some work in Cincinnati or whatever, going back and forth. So his time was going to become very limited. With that in mind, I didn't want to push on. And there was also rumors of some changes coming down the pike for Run 8, which has not happened yet. I hear these rumors, but these rumors, unfortunately, are talked on private forums. They're not even talked on Facebook anymore. They can't even bother to go to some Facebook page that we can, the rest of the community can participate in conversations. You have to be a member of a certain club, and if you're a member of that certain club, then you get to talk. Meanwhile, I'm here on my own damn forum, just trying to get anybody to talk. You think I can get that to happen? Hell no. I get more responses on my YouTube videos from practically total strangers. It's pretty crazy. So yeah, I was focused enough to do this. I was focused enough to say, okay, well, I'm not too sure what Ski's going to do. I still don't know exactly if Ski's going to apply, the amount of time to upgrade something. Personally, I mean, as far as myself and Ski, if it's just for him and I can't speak for him. But if it's just him and I running it, I don't think a program's necessary. That's just my opinion. He may be thinking differently. But that's maybe he can see that he can easily do it. I don't know. We really haven't talked too much between him and I. And I certainly did not want to. He was just getting some free time coming back. It was starting to free up for him. So we've had some conversations in more recent weeks because the schedule's starting to show signs of freeing up again. But one thing we agreed on was that, we can do these small things. Just him and I, or maybe run a session once a month or something like that was one of his ideas. I'm all for those ideas. It's better than nothing. So, but I've always said, all it takes is 2 people. Especially him and I, if we're in the mindset. Now, it's one thing having 2 people, but you have to have at least 2 people who are willing to do various positions, who are willing to take on the major responsibility. In other words, people that are willing to one dispatches one night, the other guy gets to operate one night, the other time it might switch around. What happened in Selkirk for me was I basically was always the one dispatching, and I don't want to pick on Jerry because I mean he was very loyal to me, and if it was that important to me, I could have said something, and perhaps I should have, but I didn't want to lose my only I didn't want to lose my only loyal member. So I kind of just kept my mouth shut and just went on business. But Selkirk was getting boring anyways, and honestly, it would have bored me at some point. It would have been to a point where we're just like, okay, what the hell am I doing this for? So I mean, that was the realization I was getting with Selkirk. It was just, it's got nothing to do with Mikey, his development, or anything like that. It's just, unfortunately for me, the route, I mean, they're talking about single tracking sections, apparently, of that line now, with Hunter in charge. So, that thing has been well under capacity for a very long time. Stretches as far back as the Conrail era, or the latter forms of the Conrail era, anyways. That, and it's crazy because that was once a 4-track mainline, and it's down to 2, but it's absolutely crazy. So, hmm, I don't know. Don't mind me. I'm just trying to down this without making a pig of myself here. Okay, got that out of the way. So that was basically, I was going back to the spring. California left. I wasn't worried about it because I figured, well, we still have a lot of people who are going to communicate. We still have a lot of people that are going to share ideas. We still have people that, we have a community. I wasn't worried about it. Well, the California guys, for the most part, did their own thing, stuck to their own server, which they could. If that's what they wanted to do, then so be it. And that was the way it went. But without another California server taking its place, anybody who's a new user really doesn't have an opportunity to do anything at RTS. And that's been a prolonged issue since the spring of this year. And I wasn't going to feel obligated to put anything California up. I just wasn't. And like Ski was saying in the email tonight, which I do agree, if you don't have a software or you don't have a server, then you really don't have a reason for people to be there. Other than talking about Run 8, I suppose, but even that's not happening. We have one server right now, and that's Smiley. He's an admin, and he basically, he does his own thing. I don't interfere with Smiley. He puts his own servers on and off. Whenever he'll update the servers list whenever his IP changes. He's got access to do all of that. All I am is the founder. And as long as he's running, well, the RTS Wikia will still be there. The question is, what's going to happen with RTS2 now? And I'm not sure about that. I think the answer's going to lie in between what Mike and I decide to do, basically. It's going to come down to myself or Mike. Or Ski, I should say. Mike Warowski. It's going to come down to us. It's really going to come to... It's actually going to come down more to him than me. I can tell you that right now. Not to put any pressure on him, but... I honestly don't think if I knew people were that interested, put it this way, just because Tom's interested in it doesn't mean enough for me. Just because even Mike over in California is interested, it doesn't mean enough for me. Having 2 people who have gone their separate ways is not enough for me. It never really was, even when they were with RTS. That wasn't enough for me. Because, I mean, California was not California because not so much because of anything they were doing, but because of what Mike was doing. It really it there wasn't we didn't have enough of a core to keep things going. We didn't have enough users to keep things going. Perhaps it was too much traffic. Perhaps it was just too much. It is a freaking monster. And as I was saying the other day, it's only going to get worse. Wait till the next route comes. Then what? Then what do you do? Do you buy the next route to upgrade? Do you keep upgrading this damn thing as it keeps expanding to please everybody? Because that's the problem, is everybody wants to please everyone. You can't please everyone. So I know I can't please everyone. I get that. Okay, that's fine. I totally get that. I can't please everyone. So be it. I get it. I don't have to be the major player. I don't have to be a big dog. I don't care about that. That doesn't really matter so much to me. But if you want me to push ahead at something, I need to know that people actually give a damn. And I mean, even like I talk about Mike, I talk about Tom. I mean, I know Ski gives a damn, but he's also the one, I give a damn for what he's doing. If he's going to program RTS2, well, guess what? Now I give a damn. If he's going to do things that's going to help myself and him to have some fun, well, now I give a damn. So suddenly now so him and I alone is enough. But what happens is what his availability is compared to what my availability is may be totally different. I don't know what his availability is just yet. It may be open now, but it may close up, at a moment's notice. He's got his responsibilities in his position, and that's just the way it is. People have to put bread on the table. Unfortunately, that's just a fact of life. So I don't when people are busy with life and they're busy with work and stuff like that, I don't fault them. I understand it. I get that. So whatever happened with a lot of the core members of what was the former RTS California, I get it. I totally get it. I've been there. I'm fortunate enough to be in a position right now, and I'm losing money because of it, but I'm fortunate enough to be in a position right now where I work literally 40 hours a week, get paid for 35, and I'm home most nights at 5 p.m. I leave the house at 8:15 in the morning. I'm a 15-minute commute away to get there for 8:30. So it's nothing. It's literally nothing. And I pay a price for that because I'm not making as much money as I did when I commuted a lot further away, where I was doing 50 hours, 60 hours a week sometimes. Well, I don't think it was ever that bad, but 50 hours a week, a big difference. Suddenly, that even though you're stuck in traffic for an hour and a half and you're paying a little bit extra for gas and wear and tear on the vehicle, you're just suffering quality of life and time. Because now it's like, okay, well, now you're working 10-hour shifts and you're in traffic for a good hour, hour and a half, at least one way, not always both ways, but suddenly there's 12 hours out of your day gone, and you're lucky to get 4 hours left. Here I am. I mean, I can go for 3 hours. That ain't happening tonight. I can guarantee you that. But so now, like, I was going about what happened in the spring. What happened this fall was a little bit, I don't know if it was more surprising or exactly what it was, but I stayed out of Florida's business. I just, it wasn't for me. And yeah, I was going to do my own thing, but actually, I grew tired of trying to, and it had nothing to do with Tom whatsoever. This had nothing to do with Tom. When I took a break, it had nothing to do with Tom. Now, yeah, I tried to reach out, and he put the olive branch to me. I kind of had some ideas. He wasn't interested in it, but that was okay. No big deal. I mean, it is what it is. It wasn't going to work out. He wanted to run a 24/7 server. Bottom line, and we couldn't come to terms. No big deal. But that was the way I wanted it. So at that point, I was like, okay, well, if I make the effort and try to do a session server, is it going to be worth me doing the effort, or do I need to back up? Because the bottom line is this: just because I got open room to put a server up means nothing. I still need people there. If I don't have people there, I'm stuck in Waycross. Shut up, dogs. I swear, every friggin' night. That's another thing. I'm getting rid of this YouTube because I'm tired of competing with dogs. But so and they're just total distraction too. But I'd love to have a place of my own. So nice. Or a studio where I can, just think. So yeah, that, like I said, totally distracting, and I'd let it distract me, but you know, it's unavoidable. I don't know what I was saying, so I basically lost it at that point. But anyways, as far as whatever Tom wanted to do had no impact on how I wanted to take a break. The bottom line is I still needed people, because if I didn't have people, or people that I can count on, I would be stuck in Waycross humping a yard, just like I was stuck in California Barstow humping a yard. And all I would be doing is, and very similar to being stuck dispatching in California, because I can, if I want to, since I gave up dispatch, I can go on Mike's server anytime. I have access. I can go on his server and run trains on a 24/7 server on a night that people are dispatching. If I want to run trains, I know I can do that. That's not the point. You know, that's really not the point. Point was, I wanted to be in a position where I could dispatch once in a while and maybe run some trains once in a while, because there'd be enough people. You know what I'm saying? So that, hey, one night I'd dispatch. And that's the way we used to do things in RTS. We used to do it so that people changed positions. People ran whatever needed to be done for the good of the community. It wasn't all this, well, you're the dispatcher this night, and you're only running this yard because that's your role or duty or job or whatever it is. I used to like running all kinds of different locals. I used to like, just picking up this, picking up that, doing whatever was needed. And that was kind of my vision for what I saw was going to happen in Florida. So the reason why I had the motivation for Florida was I found a way to make the feeder trains self-reliant and optional for manpower. So that's why I got the envision. I thought, okay, I can run sessions. If the trains are going to turn themselves around after a 24-hour timer, well, that gave time for anybody to take over a particular train in 24 hours of running time. Not 24 hours of real time, 24 hours of running time. If you ran, if you ran 4-hour sessions, it would take you 6 sessions of availability of somebody to be able to run that switcher whenever they wanted. Not when some schedule wanted, but whenever they wanted to. And if they couldn't do it, and I gave up. You know, I gave all kinds of ideas. I gave posts. I gave all kinds of comments. So I'm giving all kinds of ideas out there. And do I get replies or interest? Nothing. All I got was sympathy from Scott, because Scott's going through the same issues. With all due respect to Scott, and I mean I know what he's trying to do too. His vision is, you know, let people come in, do their own rules or do whatever, and he just runs Selkirk Mohawk. Unfortunately for me, Selkirk Mohawk is boring, and I'd be part of it if there was some type of structure, or I don't know what. I just don't know what to expect, and just being it open ended to do whatever you want. Well, I can do that on single player. You know what I mean? I don't know what that means. So I unfortunately I never understood what it is, and I think this is the same thing with what other people. But with the forum posts, I'm posting out ideas. I'm trying to get feedback. I'm trying to get ideas as to what people are interested in. I'm trying to see what people are interested. I'm trying to see if people are excited about that. Because if I sense that people are excited, just like the YouTube viewer was happy to see me do it. Okay, well, they're good. That means my videos mean something to somebody. Does this format work for a lot of people? Probably not. Because it's too long, it's too drawn out. People do not have time to watch videos for 4 hours, let alone 1 hour. Especially if a screen that doesn't move and they're just hearing a monologue. But this is the only way I can explain myself. And I'm not going to make this very much longer tonight because there's nothing more really to say about it. I mean, I posted a video of a Loverboy song, When It's Over, and I feel it's over. And it's not because of my choosing, it's because the community chose it. I didn't choose it. All I did was take a break. The community has chosen. It wasn't me. And as far as the RTS Wikia, guess what? I can't get rid of it. Trust me, I tried. Because I would have. There was a point where I was just like, okay, this is ridiculous. I'm just posting forum posts. I started looking in ways that I could get rid of, and I'd have to go back. And basically, the description to me was the Wikia belongs to the community. So I am just a what is it? The founder, because that's how the Wikia works. And you know, if I was paying or anything, I wouldn't put anything into it because it's just become a blog of mine now. It's ridiculous. And there's all kinds of potential for information. Hell, I was still using the information, the stuff that Tom had. I was using it the other day when I was going in to dig up to see what he had set up for Florida. So there was all kinds of things there. So, you know, now I'm trying to, people are doing laundry here and kinds of things. So I was supposed to do laundry earlier tonight, but I didn't get home early enough. But, so I'm probably going to have to check that out and see what the hell's going on. But, yeah, it's become like absolutely insane. Um, you know, I can't even describe, you know, how I feel about it anymore. But yeah, I'm gonna have to start going and checking the laundry very shortly, and I'm gonna cut this short because I don't know what the hell's going on. I, you know, I can't even find a day around here to do laundry. There's like two other tenants, and if I don't get home right at 5 o'clock on a Wednesday, I used to choose other nights, and then somebody else would do the freaking laundry. I get one load a week, and try to fit it into everybody else's schedule. I've been here the longest. I used to have my own day, everything was working, and then suddenly everybody wants to do laundry like 4 times a week or some stupid thing around here. It's absolutely ridiculous. But, anyways, I won't be too much longer. Sorry about mentioning that. I just had a vent about that because everything seems to be on my mind. Um, I could talk about my work, but anyways, that would be kind of boring, so forget that. Um, so yeah, as I said, you know, I can't take down the Wikia, and I still check it every day. I'm still waiting to see if there's some type of feedback. It's practically dead. So Mike suggested, or Ski. I call him Mike, but I call everybody else. It's like the Ski, just so I can. There's so many Mikes I know right now. It's crazy. But Ski had suggested that not to worry about it. Well, first of all, I worry. I'm a worrier. He said, "Yeah, it's nothing to worry about because if it's going to be smaller." I understand the smaller point. And if things are going to be smaller, so be it. I've always said you can do it. It's not a question of that we can do it or not. The question is, the thing is, there's so much more potential when you get a lot of people together. Do I have the drive and the will to do that? You're damn right I do. But do you think I'm going to go in it alone and just build it and they come type thing, like that stupid movie where they build the Field of Dreams? Oh, you build it, they will come. Really? Fine, I built RTS and they come. The difference was when I built it, at least I had something. So in other words, when I had RTS 1, there was no AI. I could just run local yards, do whatever the hell I wanted, and I would be fine. I can do that in Excel. So just adding it to software actually expedited it because then I had the ability to generate. Now, the difference now is Run 8 can do quite a bit on its own. So there's a bit of a trade-off there. I'm not a big fan of how they do the way bills or whatever the hell it is, the industry thing, but it's still feasible. The AI is a bonus. But dispatching your own trains and running your own trains and running your own world and doing whatever, the thing is, I like to run traffic levels. Now, the only other thing that I can think of, first of all, I can tell you right now, Ski and I can do this. If it's just him and I, we can do this. If it's just him and I and a few others, yeah, we can do this. That's not the point. The point is, we have the ability with a lot of people to get together and run some serious kick-ass sessions. But if you keep it 24/7, chances are you're going to not please everybody. You're not going to have everybody, be available at certain times. Then you have trains sitting around, which are either boring or become just absolute craziness. Think about it. If people are allowed to dispatch trains and run trains whenever they want, well, then what happens? I remember what it was like in version 1. I remember some of the original sessions people ran, where they stacked up 40 trains and ran them all at the start of a session. It's ridiculous. You want trains to be spaced out at least somewhat realistically. Sure, there's going to be bunch ups and there's going to be all this that, but then you got people who dispatch and they're not paying attention to what they're doing dispatching. That was another thing I found out real quick too on a certain server when I was dispatching. When you had certain people who weren't paying attention to what the hell they were doing because they were trying to do too much or they had too much territory to run, and you had all these very strange bottlenecks taking place because things were just a mess. And I didn't understand, it was just, it just didn't, it takes away from the realism because okay, well, wait a minute. some of these things could have been sorted out and you're left with somebody else's mess. It's one thing to be left with somebody else's mess, but it's another thing when you're trying to enjoy it. I mean, people make mistakes, I get that, but it takes away from the fun of it, especially when you're trying to simulate at least something somewhat realistic. It doesn't have to be perfect. I don't know all the industries. I don't know all the industries in Florida. I don't know all the industries in California. You know? And then it goes back to Run 8. What's Run 8 doing? All this secretive. They've been so freaking secretive for the past 5 years. Everything's a secret. What are they afraid of? I mean, seriously. What is it that they are afraid of? Because nobody can touch them. Nobody. At least not yet. And if so, well, all they have to do is go back onto their older product and better it. I mean, seriously. I mean, they have a product that's out there right now that somebody can just take those ideas, run with it, and make it better. And nobody's doing it. Nobody's been able to do it yet. They can't touch them. Nobody. Absolutely nobody. They've had 5 years to beat Run 8, and nobody's do it. But yet, we still have this secretiveness. We have this little private club in a group that is basically the pseudo Run 8 forums, because that's what it is. But let's be real here. It's the Run 8 forums. And the crazy thing is, the Run 8 forums isn't the main forum. It's the forum when you're Run 8, when you're in that little plus level thingy-majiggy, where you are more prototypical, which is really crazy because hindsight 360, man, I remember a time when I wanted to be prototypical, and boy, was I bashed for being a private server. And I mean, I know this ain't the same guys, but holy crap. It's just funny how hypocritical some people, I'm not saying it's them, but the thing is, the group of people, I'm talking about the people the surrounding, the useful idiots, certain admins. I mean, there's some good admins over there, and there's some other admins that I can consider, just useful idiots that I have no use for whatsoever. And a lot of them are carryovers from that other group who was hypocritical about me, got personal issues with me. Okay. And a lot of people don't like me. A lot of people don't like me shooting in the head. I don't care. I really don't care. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe I'm too antisocial after all. So, I mean, in closing, I mean, it's 9:53 p.m. I'm ending this at 10 p.m. This is it. I got better things to do besides the laundry. But, you know, I mean, 1 hour is okay for tonight. And I don't know where this YouTube channel goes from here. I really don't know. Run 8 at the moment is leaving a bad taste in my mouth. The only thing that I'm interested in doing is for like-minded individuals. So if you want to run smaller sessions, if you want to run anything, let me know. Go on the YouTubes. If you see this video, comment, suggest, whatever. I don't care. You and I do not have, none of us have to agree. Ski and I do not agree. I even said it to him in the email tonight. That's nothing personal. I disagree with what he says, so what? It ain't gonna affect, as far as I'm concerned, it's not affecting our friendship any. Just because I disagree or we have a difference of, we disagree on a lot of things. Whoop-de-doo. Doesn't mean nothing. Still gonna want to run with the guy. And we'll figure out what we want to do. Because he's only going to do what is enjoyable for him, and I'm only going to do what's enjoyable for me, so somewhere we're going to have to meet in the middle. And most of anything as far as what we want to do together seems to be pretty much on the same page. And he was saying, well, we can do the smaller group thing, and like I said before, all it takes is 2 people. And yeah, maybe for Florida that's what they needed to do, or I guess. I guess they need to be away from the influence of RTS, and Florida had, Florida had to be the way from the RTS, and California had to be the way from the RTS. Um, but in retrospect, not being, it's kind of ironic because you got Southwest rails and Southeast rails now, which is kind of ironic. But anyways, um, it's kind of strange because I don't know if just having those names alone being another blip is going to generate. I don't know if it's going to help Florida. I hope it does. If it helps them, best of luck to them. If it is helping California, best of luck to them. I don't see the evidence of California. I can tell you that right now. It's been 6 months. I do not see any evidence. And this is no disrespect to Mike, um, but I didn't see any evidence, and he's up against a huge issue. And I said this before, I'll say this again. I got 4 minutes. The big issue right now with Run 8 is this obsession with expanding current territories. When you expand current territories, you're automatically setting servers up for failure or having to spend a lot of money and having to maintain a lot of stuff, especially if you were going to put Run 8 to its full potential and have it with the proper traffic and have it with the proper industries and have it with the proper people, because it's people driven. You start expanding these territories ridiculously, and it's ridiculous. What happened to Alaska? What happened to Alaska? What happened to all these other routes they talked about doing? Where are they? Do we have to do the whole 8, 10 western states, for crying out loud? It's ridiculous. And I mean, okay, fine, it's their vision, it's doing whatever. It's stupid. And it's lost, I didn't buy the other extension. I'm sure as hell I'm not buying the LA extension either, as pretty as it might look and all that. And maybe some people are going to buy it and go goo goo gaga. I don't know what their sales are like. Unfortunately, they're the only game in town as far as the realistic ability and what have you. But they need something smaller. I mean, really, they need something smaller. I've thought about going back in and trying to make up something. Hell, I've thought about programming my own damn simulator. As crazy as that sounds, I have more interest in programming my own simulator than I do programming RTS 2 at the moment, if you know what I mean. And I got a long way to go if I ever gonna get around to that, because I'd rather get my son programming so that he can, because he said Run 8 would be great if it was sort of like Railroad Tycoon, and it had costs and all that. And I said I don't know how the hell that's possible. I says, but maybe you can make it happen. I says, I'll show you how to program, kid. Maybe you can figure out something. So maybe he will. He's only 9. I don't know if he's going to be into programming or not. Personally, I hope he does what he wants. I'm certainly not envying him being a programmer, but hey, if that's what he wants to do, and it's lucrative enough, and go for it. I think there's a demand out there, but apparently there's a demand for this, but I haven't seen it yet. So anyways, it's 10 o'clock Eastern. My screen just changed. I'm done. So hopefully I'll be back, but I don't know. And hopefully Ski and I will run. And when Ski and I runs, and as long as he's okay with it, I'll broadcast on YouTube, and perhaps we'll share our commentary, or I don't know what the hell we'll do, but we'll do something. So it's not the end of Run 8. I don't know what it is as far as RTS 2 at this point, as much as I like this little screen. The Wikia will still be up. My YouTube channel will still be up. But as far as Run 8 content, I'm going to need some more support, guys. And I'm not talking monetary support. I just want people posting on the forums. I want to know what people want. And I need a lot of that. I need to know. Bottom line is this: if I push forward for this, and I know I'm going over 10 o'clock, if I push forward for this, I want to know that I'm not trapping myself and putting all this effort in for nothing, because I don't want to bust my ass off and try to put something out there in a vision, because I got the vision and I got the willingness to do it. The problem is I don't know if I have the people support to back me up, so that, number one, if I do push it forward, can I actually be able to have enough people in the background so that we can take on more positions? And the problem with these routes, these 3 routes that are going to expand, is they're only going to get bigger down the road. So if we don't do something now as a community, if we don't do something now, this is the last chance we got to ever, as far as RTS or myself in any leadership role in Run 8, this is the last chance we got to make something big. And I think we can. I think there's all this potential, but we got to come together, talk about some ideas. Maybe it's too late for that. Maybe, you know, whatever. Maybe they've flown the cuckoo's nest and they're doing their own single player things, whatever. If that's the case, and if they think that's the way it is, and they're happy with their smaller groups, so be it. I guess I'll be happy with my small group soon enough. So that's it, guys. So unfortunately, disappointing news, but we'll see what happens going forward. Anyways, talk to you whenever I decide to talk to you again. See ya.